Okay, hi everyone. It's a beautiful morning here in Melbourne, and I'm super excited because this podcast will be storytelling, and I have stories to tell, so I'm really excited. Hi, my name is Renata, and this is the Job Hunting Podcast, where I share ideas to help you nail your next job and have the career that you want to have. If this is the type of content for you, you're currently on the market looking for a new job, you're keen to get a new job early next year or before the year ends, doesn't matter, just follow us. And I also give tips on how to advance or change careers, ask for promotions, and be ready for to elevate your game inside your own business, the own organization that you work at right now, so you don't have to move and make that, kind of stressful process. Make sure you subscribe by clicking on the subscribe button below or anywhere on the podcast thingy you're listening to. If you are a podcast aficionado or aficionada like me, you know what to do. But if you're new to this, like my mom, hi mom, there's a button somewhere. It says subscribe, press it. Leave me a review, please. I'd love that. And please do share this episode with someone you believe will benefit from listening. Possibly someone not in the race with you on your job hunting pursuit. The episode notes will include information on where to find me, which is basically everywhere, but I do tend to hang out more on my Facebook page, which I've just created, and hopefully by the time this podcast is up, it will have, a nice little group there for us to hang out. And yes, you can find me on LinkedIn. I am a true professional. I am on LinkedIn, as everybody else should be, in my view. You're welcome to connect with me, but I don't discuss career transition on my LinkedIn posts. I use LinkedIn mainly for my main business, which is I'm a business consultant. And I will keep it that way. But of course, you can send me a message, connect, ask me questions anywhere, in whatever platform you choose. So let's jump into it. The topic today: no opportunity should be lost when you have invested so much time and effort at applying for the role you didn't get. Let's find out how to make a lemonade of your lemon. I wrote that down. I thought, I'm so clever. And then I didn't want to write anything else because, I was tired. It was a long day yesterday. Okay, so I came up with 3 actions and beliefs that you should have when you don't get the job that you applied for, and why having applied for the jobs, even though you don't get it, are great opportunities anyway. So let's start with number 1, and then I'll tell a few stories that will enrich the advice I'm about to give. So you apply for a job, you don't get it. You got to know recruiters and people in other organizations or departments and sectors if you've, applied for an internal promotion or an internal job, right? And that will expand your brand and your personal narrative, things we've discussed in previous podcasts, but also your experience in talking about yourself and delivering that pitch that everybody talks about, and reinforcing your professional identity, telling people what you want to do with your career and where you're heading. Those are very important, but the connections you make, the network that you start building are very important as well, because it may not be the right role for you right now, that one, for whatever reason the selection panel decided to choose somebody else, but hopefully you will have made a good impression. Remember, if you go all the way to the point of getting a call or then going to an interview, you're learning, you're on the right track, you are a good candidate. And if you didn't get to that, you can now go back to your resume, your cover letter, or whatever application they requested from you, and revisit that and refine and be better next time. So apply for a role, and you will see that should be the glass half full. So I'll give you a few examples. If you decide to, you saw an opportunity and it's not a perfect opportunity, it doesn't completely match your skills and strengths, but there's a 50% synergy between what you do and what the position responsibilities are asking of a candidate. And you say, you know what, I'm a candidate with potential, right? So you're coming in with potential, not exact experience. And sometimes that potential to grow is something that the selection panel is looking for, especially if you're going for an internal promotion or a job within the same organization. So they know your skills, they know your reputation, they know that you don't exactly match that opportunity, but you might grow within the role, which is great for them. They may have the opportunity to mold you into a great role and make you a great manager, leader, coordinator, whatever role you're going into. But if you are not the right candidate for the role, you will have met people that may potentially come back to you with different opportunities, even when the opportunities are not advertised yet, they're not public yet. They will call you and say, there's a role coming up, would you be interested in it? Or they may make it public but give you a call anyway because they will think of you. And that happens with external recruiters and internal recruiters as well. I know someone who has applied for a role like that very recently, and the recruiter called them immediately to say, look, this is not, the right role for you, and vice versa, but I'm very keen to meet you. Let's have a coffee, right? So my friend didn't even get an interview or a proper call, but the recruiter was keen to meet them because they saw that, it was a good candidate, great resume, great experience, just not exactly the best fit for this role, but being a good recruiter, he wanted to have that candidate in their pool of good candidates for future roles. So that was a good thing. This also happened to me many years ago. I received a call. I was very happy in the role that I was in. I had no intention to move. The role that this wonderful headhunter was offering me wasn't really something that inspired me. It didn't bring me joy. It wasn't a Marie Kondo kind of moment, but I really liked the way that she approached me and why she thought it was, a good idea for me to consider it. She said all the right things on the phone, and I said, this is not the right time for me. I'm happy. In fact, I remember well, I was new to this new role, and it was a big role for me. And I think it wasn't even like 6 months into the role. And I said to the headhunter, I've just started, why would you think I would be ready for another role? And she said something that I thought was really clever and wise. She said, if you don't think that the role you're in now is a good fit for you, it's better to leave earlier than later. It was a good fit, and I didn't leave. But, it just, that stayed with me, because you don't want to dig a hole for yourself and stay into a situation that's bad for one reason or another. And sometimes you don't really know where you're landing. And there's, that stress as well of, figuring out, where am I? This is not good. So she was offering me a way out, and I was very grateful to her. So what happened was when I was ready to leave the role I was in many, many years later, she was the first person I called, and I said, look, I don't think I want to renew my contract. It's, months from now, but I thought you should be the first one to know, and I'd love to work with you. And if there's anything popping up in the near future, please give me a call. I'd love to, for us to work together. So those connections are invaluable. Make sure that you remember that. Second reason why it's a great thing to apply for a role and it's okay not to get it. You should get connected with the people that interview you on LinkedIn and keep in touch regularly. I think so. I think that that's okay. I've done that and I like it. But, disclaimer here, I don't recommend my clients to connect with recruiters and headhunters on LinkedIn. I really don't. If you want to keep in touch with them, add them to your phone contacts, make a spreadsheet of, good headhunters out there, their contact details, where they work, keep in touch with them outside of LinkedIn. I think that if you all of a sudden are job hunting and all your new connections are recruiters, it sends a message out there that you may not want people to know. And there is no reason. They don't expect you to connect with them on LinkedIn. I don't think I've asked that before. And they said, no, I actually don't recommend. One headhunter told me, and I followed her recommendation. Or his recommendation, I think it was a guy. I am connected to lots of headhunters and recruiters on LinkedIn because I've always known that eventually I would get out of the corporate sector and do this. And I've always really enjoyed meeting them, and that's an important network for me if I want to become an expert in job hunting, right? So I am connected with lots of them, but I don't recommend that to my clients. What I am recommending, though, is if you apply for a job that does not have recruiters involved, or if there are recruiters involved, but you got to a point where you've been interviewed a couple of times. All right. So I was interviewed. It was a very senior role. So I was interviewed 4 times for over months. And twice it was a boardroom presentation, 2 boardroom presentations, and, questions and answers and a lot of connections with at the board level. That board and those individuals are still in my network, and they're very close. And I actually am quite connected as well with the person who got that role that I didn't get. And that's all fine, And I think that we need to get over the fact that we didn't get the role and that's a failure. It's not a failure. To get to that point is really an amazing opportunity. I've, in a previous podcast, said, if somebody doesn't win a race, what does that mean? If Serena Williams doesn't win the Australian Open, is she a loser? No, not in my eyes. She's fantastic, right? She's a great candidate for Roland Garros or the American Open and so on. So she will eventually win something else. So connect with those employers. They really liked you. They worked hard to find the best fit for their organization, but it's a good connection to have, and that there could be a future role for you in their career development and vice versa, and they may consider you for other opportunities. Okay, what else? The third reason why it's okay to fail at a job interview, and I think this is a really important one, and it happened to me, so I have a great story to tell, is you are going to job interviews and you're going to become less fragile. You're becoming more resilient every time you do a selection process like that, start to finish. Your skills at job hunting get better. Your ability to talk about yourself and to answer questions confidently is important. But if you don't win that race, if that job wasn't for you, resilience is when you get really low and you bounce back. Fragility is when you don't need to bounce back at all. Your head is up high, you receive the news and you're like, yep, okay, move on. What have I learned here? Move on. And that is where you want to be if you are job hunting for months. And some people do, depending on the sector, depending on the country or your age. It could be months until you find a new job. I know people that have been job hunting for a year. And, it has to do with their sector and their age and where they live at the moment and the opportunities around them. They have some constraints. They don't want to move, for example. So you need to be patient, and you need to build not just resiliency, you need to be anti-fragile. And if you want to know more about anti-fragility, I am yet to read the book. I have it here in front of me. It's upside down. Let me read The Black Swan. I will read this book. I really want to. I've read a lot of articles and research around that topic, but not the book itself. and I'll put the link on the episode notes. It's by Nassim Taleb. He's quite well known management researcher. So I also put a list together of people that failed at their big job interviews, and I think it's good for us to remember that. Politicians like Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, John McCain, what a huge job interview these guys went through. Regardless of your political affiliation, I'm talking about the process, right? The process is ridiculous. It's so intense and so stressful, and they lost. And guess what? People that love them still do. People that hate them probably hate them still as well. But it's still, their career is not over in terms of their ability to get other gigs, other opportunities, and even reapply for the roles if they want to, like Bernie Sanders. And people like John McCain, he was still incredibly influential, and so is Hillary. They have opportunities still. It doesn't matter that they didn't get the gig of being a president of the US. One story that I like, it's about the former Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, and I read this and I found the article, and I'll have it in the episode notes. So for this podcast, I've been clever. Right? So what I did is I did some research before, because in the previous episodes I did no research, and then I had to, dig and, search for things I had said I was going to put on the episode notes, and it was quite hard. So this time I did the other way around. I found things first, and then they are easier for me to refer to them as I speak. So why I like this. So Malcolm Turnbull is a Rhodes Scholar. So Rhodes Scholarships are very prestigious scholarships. You go to Oxford, you have to be quite young to get them. It's a very competitive process. And he failed in his first attempt at Rhodes. And what happened was, let me try to remember, I think he failed in 1979. And then in 1980, they probably didn't have enough good candidates, so they gave him a call, and then he was a 1980 Rhodes Scholar for Australia. And the reason why people found out is because the archives of this library of the Governor-General of Australia, oh, don't get me started, it's a Commonwealth thing. So the Governor-General's notes were made public, and it said quite funny things about Malcolm, and it was in the news, and it was really cute, and I thought it was hilarious. So I'll put the article in the episode notes. So he failed, and then he got it afterwards. Another one that I recently found out had a very messy career progression was Anna Wintour, the famous Vogue editor in the US, and she seems so all-powerful and confident and great at her job, and has been doing it for years. But she was fired many times early in her career, and some of her attempts at changing some of her earlier magazines that she worked for went really bad, and she got fired quite a few times, and she applied for roles she didn't get. So I was really impressed with that, and I couldn't find the reference to it. I've seen it in a little documentary somewhere on TV. I can't remember where, but if you dig on Google, you might find what I'm talking about. And then when I think about actors and actresses that audition over and over and over again, spend years auditioning for roles, and one that comes to my mind is Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle spent decades auditioning and getting very tiny roles here and there until she got Suits, and then of course she's now married to a prince. But I'm just trying to think of people that I think are very inspirational for different types of people that might be listening to this podcast, right? And of course Serena Williams, who I think is a total hero, and most times she wins, sometimes she doesn't, and so many other athletes have amazing resiliency. That's why I love watching sports, especially individual sports like swimming, tennis. I think it gives me a lot of insight on individuals like Serena that have to train super hard, and I think that's the same kind of mental ability that I want people in job hunting to have, and to have that confidence in yourself, but also work really hard and understand where your flaws are and your strengths, work on your strengths and focus on that, and let people see them. Okay, so I guess that's the storytelling for today. I thought it was a bit more fun for me. I hope you enjoyed it. On the episode notes, there is a link for my document, the top 10 tips for making that's not easy to say, for making job hunting less stressful and more successful. It's a very long title, but it means exactly, what it says. I suppose I couldn't think of anything better. I really enjoyed it, putting it together. It's on the episode notes. There's a link there for you. And that's all for now. Remember to subscribe, guys, share with others, and check the episode notes. And if you want to talk to me and connect with me, just DM me and send me a note. Talk to you soon. Bye.